She was 8 months pregnant, shaking and bleeding slightly when she pushed open the door of a biker bar known across the state for violence. No phone, no money, no family. Just one last chance before everything fell apart. What happened in the next 10 minutes would silence the room, change several lives forever, and restore faith in humanity. If you believe kindness can come from the most unexpected places, subscribe now, because stories like this remind us why hope still matters. The rain had been falling since morning, the kind that soaked through clothes and skin, the kind that made the world feel colder than it already was. The biker bar sat at the edge of town like a forgotten scar, neon lights flickering through the downpour. Most people avoided the place. Locals whispered about broken jaws, police raids, and men who never smiled. That night, the parking lot was full of heavy motorcycles, engines still ticking as they cooled, chrome glinting under streetlights. Laughter and loud music spilled out every time the door opened. No one noticed the pregnant woman standing across the street at first. Her name was Clara. She was 26, though exhaustion and fear made her look older. Her hair clung to her face, soaked. Her hands trembled as she rested, one on her swollen belly, the other pressed against her side where pain pulsed in slow waves. She had walked nearly 2 miles in the rain because her car had died on the highway. Her phone was gone, stolen earlier that evening along with her wallet. The contractions weren't regular yet, but they were strong enough to terrify her. She had nowhere else to go. Across town, hospitals were full, shelters were closed for the night, and the only lights she could see were from this bar. She had stood there for 5 minutes arguing with herself, every warning she had ever heard screaming in her head. But another contraction bent her forward and fear won. She crossed the street. When Clara pushed the door open, the music cut off mid-song. It wasn't intentional. One of the bikers closest to the jukebox had just stopped moving. Then another, and another. Conversations died. Glasses froze halfway to mouths. 30 pairs of eyes turned toward her. She stood there, rain dripping onto the floor, breathing hard. Leather jackets, tattoos, heavy boots, scars. Men who looked like the last people on earth she should ask for help. Her voice came out small but clear. "I'm sorry," she said. "I don't know where else to go. I'm pregnant. I need help." Silence swallowed the room. At the bar sat a man named Jack. He was in his late 40s, broad-shouldered, gray threaded through his beard. He was the president of the motorcycle club that met there every Friday night. He had buried friends, been to prison, and learned not to trust strangers. His first instinct was suspicion. People didn't just walk into their bar by accident. Especially not like this. Another biker muttered that this felt like a setup. Someone else shifted in his seat, hand brushing his jacket pocket. The bartender, a woman named May who had seen more broken souls than she could count, watched Clara's face instead of her belly. She saw terror, not manipulation. Clara took a step forward, winced, and grabbed the doorframe to steady herself. "Please," she said. "I just need a phone, or a ride. I'm not here to cause trouble." A younger biker laughed nervously, but it died quickly. Something about the way she spoke, the way her eyes darted as if she expected to be thrown out, made the room uneasy. Jack stood up. The scrape of his chair was loud in the silence. He walked toward her slowly, boots heavy against the floor. Clara flinched when he stopped in front of her. He looked down at her belly, then at her face. "Where's the father?" he asked, not unkindly but blunt. Her eyes filled instantly. "He left," she said, 2 months ago." That answer hit harder than anyone expected. Jack's jaw tightened. He nodded once. Then he did something no one in the room anticipated. He took off his leather jacket and gently draped it around her shoulders. "You're freezing," he said. "Sit down." The room exhaled. May rushed from behind the bar with a towel and a glass of water. Someone pulled out a chair. Clara lowered herself into it, shaking so badly she could barely hold the glass. As the warmth spread through her, the tears came. Silent at first, then shaking sobs she couldn't control. Between breaths, the story spilled out. How she had moved to town for her boyfriend's job. How he'd changed when she got pregnant. How he'd started drinking, then hitting, then blaming her for everything. How tonight, after an argument on the roadside, he had shoved her out of the car and driven away with her phone and bag. How she had walked in the rain, terrified she might go into labor alone. The bar stayed quiet as she spoke. No jokes, no interruptions, just listening. One biker, a massive man called Tank, wiped his eyes angrily and stood up. "I've got a truck," he said. "I'll take her to the hospital." Another shook his head. Closest ER's packed tonight. My cousin works there. They're turning people away. May frowned. She needs to be checked now. Jack looked at Clara carefully. Are you having contractions? She nodded. They're getting closer. Before he could respond, the door burst open. A man stumbled inside, rain-soaked and furious. Clara froze. There you are, the man snarled. You think you can just run off? The air in the bar changed instantly. It was him. The father. He scanned the room, smirked when he realized where he was. Figures, he said, playing the victim again. Clara shrank back, hands protectively over her belly. Please, she whispered. Just leave. Jack stepped between them. You need to walk back out that door, Jack said calmly. The man laughed. Or what? Tank stood up behind Jack, then another biker, then another. The sound of chairs scraping echoed like thunder. You don't belong here, Jack said, and you don't talk to her like that. The man's bravado faltered. This is between me and my girl. Jack's eyes went cold. No, this is between you and 30 witnesses who don't like bullies. The man cursed and took a step forward. He never got another. Tank grabbed him by the collar and shoved him back so hard he stumbled into a table. Glass shattered. The bartender slammed the phone down on the bar. Police are on their way, May said, voice steady. The man paled. He looked around, realized he was outnumbered, and bolted for the door, slipping on the wet floor as he fled. Clara broke down completely. Her contractions intensified, sharp and undeniable. May was already on the phone with emergency services, barking answers. Jack knelt in front of Clara, his tough exterior gone. You're not alone, he said quietly. You hear me? You're safe. The ambulance took longer than expected. A storm-related accident had blocked the road. Minutes stretched into an hour. Clara cried out as pain racked her body. May held her hand. Jack coached her breathing. Tank stood at the door watching for sirens like a guard dog. Then Clara gasped. Something's wrong. May looked down and went pale. She's crowning. Jack swore under his breath. The dispatcher confirmed it. The baby wasn't waiting. What happened next became legend in that town. The bikers cleared tables, laid down jackets, boiled water, tore clean cloth from shirts without hesitation. May took charge with surprising authority. Jack stayed with Clara, speaking calmly, grounding her as chaos buzzed around them. Outside, rain hammered the roof. Inside, time narrowed to one woman and one baby fighting their way into the world. When the baby finally cried, loud and strong, the bar erupted into stunned silence again. Then applause, cheers, tears. May wrapped the baby in Jack's jacket. Clara sobbed with relief as they placed her son on her chest. She whispered, we made it. The ambulance arrived minutes later to a scene no one could have imagined. Leather-clad bikers standing respectfully, a newborn in their midst, a mother alive because strangers chose kindness. At the hospital, Jack waited until Clara was settled. He left an envelope with May to give her later. Inside was cash, a phone number, and a note. You don't owe us anything, but if you ever need family, you have one. Weeks passed. Clara named her son Noah. She recovered in a small apartment provided by a women's support organization. She started therapy. She began to rebuild. One afternoon, there was a knock at her door. Jack stood there holding a teddy bear that looked ridiculous in his massive hands. Tank was behind him, shifting awkwardly. We were in the area, Jack said. Just wanted to check on you. Clara smiled through tears. Come in. From that day on, the bikers became part of Noah's life. Birthdays, doctor visits, protection when the father tried to resurface and failed miserably. Jack became a grandfather figure Noah never would have had otherwise. Years later, Clara would tell Noah the story of the night he was born. Not about fear, not about violence, but about how silence in a biker bar turned into compassion, and how help can come from the last place you expect. And somewhere on that same street, the biker bar's neon light still flickers in the rain, holding a story that changed everything. If this story moved you, tell us in the comments which part of the country you're watching from. Your voice matters, and we'd love to know where you're listening from.